A woman who chooses pleasure does not abandon responsibility. Rather, she abandons self-neglect. Welcome, ladies, to Feminine Flow Fridays. My name is Bankesha Otomi. I am a feminine embodiment coach, as well as an executive leadership coach. And today we are talking about one of my favorite topics, which is about pleasure. And that's why I have a bit of music in the background this evening, because I want to tune into that energy of, what pleasure really means for a woman. How do we as women embody the spirit of pleasure so that we enhance our femininity, so that we become these radiant beings and we live from a place of overflow, not from a place of overwhelm. So welcome once again, everyone. Let me turn this down to Feminine Flow Fridays. Feminine Flow Fridays, it's that time where I come and share all things wonderful about the world of femininity. This is about us learning, what does femininity mean? How do we show up in our feminine expressions? How do we harness our feminine energy? How do we embody all that which femininity is? And specifically, Feminine Flow Fridays is to provide a different narrative that is out there currently around femininity. So I don't necessarily talk about the soft girl life. I'm not really about just the beauty and the aesthetics. I come from the dimension of the deep realms of what femininity means, the spiritual realms of femininity, the essence of femininity. So if you are joining my platform for the very first time, you are absolutely welcome into the space. Feminine Flow Fridays happens every Friday, 8 p.m. GMT time, and I am determined to show up every week to the best of my ability to share various resources, practical tips. So be sure to like, follow, share, and join me every Friday on the episode of Feminine Flow Fridays. So let's talk about today's episode. Today's episode is about pleasure. Specifically, what does it mean for us as women when we choose pleasure? Now, be honest. When I talk about or use the word pleasure, what springs to mind? I want you to just kind of think about it really quickly. When you hear the word pleasure, what immediately comes to your mind? I ask that question because historically, when pleasure is talked about, it is usually spoken about in a sexual context. Pleasure has been conditioned by society to have a connotation of sexual pleasure. And when you think about women and our roles as women, historically, women have always been seen from that particular angle, amongst other angles, but one of the key angles has been from a sexual space. But I'm not here to talk about sex. This is not the show where I say, let's talk about sex, baby. That's a completely different topic. That's a completely different platform. I'm here to talk about the deeper meanings of pleasure. To me, pleasure means that you are a woman who is awakened to every element of life, and you are a woman who is able to tap into the small aspects of life and find enjoyment in it. A woman who chooses pleasure is a woman who says, I am worthy. Is a woman who gives herself permission. Is a woman who says, I deserve happiness. I deserve joy. I deserve good things. And this is important for us, specifically those of us who are on the journey of wanting to live more of a feminine lifestyle, wanting to really experience what feminine energy is about, which I talk about in my podcast show called The Ease and Grace Show. So if you ever want to know a little bit more theoretically what feminine energy is about, what does it mean to be feminine, that is definitely one of the spaces that I will encourage you to go to. But today, talking about pleasure is really about having a conversation with ourselves as women in terms of to what extent do we give ourselves permission to enjoy our lives. Most of the time, for us as women, we have been assigned roles, whether it's role as a sister, role as a daughter, role as a mother, role as a wife, role as a partner, role as a girlfriend, right? We've been assigned roles where we are so wired and conditioned to give, and there's never usually enough space for us to receive. But when you want to embody your feminine, when you want to become a woman who is graceful, who is elegant, who is aligned, who is magnetic, pleasure is an absolute ingredient to being a feminine woman. Why is that so? Because pleasure carries a high vibration. Pleasure in and of itself carries an expansive vibration. It speaks to abundance. It speaks to joy. It speaks to delight. It speaks to openness. It speaks to pleasures of life, right? And so when you want to be a woman who is showing up in her full ecstatic self, pleasure has to come into that conversation. So how do we become women who live for pleasure? What does that mean, Banker? I'm a full-time wife, or I'm a full-time mom. I don't have time to sit down and just be giving myself, all of the different things that I want. So let's start from understanding why this is important. A woman who has a relationship with pleasure is going to be a woman who has capacity to give from a place of overflow. I've already talked about the fact that when I'm referencing pleasure, I'm not talking about sexual pleasure. Sexual pleasure is one component of pleasure. But pleasure as a whole is about your capacity to find beauty in every element of your life, number one. It is about your ability to create experiences that bring you joy, number two. And it's also about being receptive to receive the things that bring you joy, number three. These are components that allow you to be a woman that enjoys a life of pleasure. Now, when we think about a life of pleasure, I will personally tell you what I think. I think, it's this woman just kind of drinking her champagne. She has nothing else to do. She's just super rich. She's got fur coats. She lives in a beautiful mansion and life is just good. She's just living just a very sort of well-kept life. Everything is seamless. Everything is easy. Now, that's a beautiful fantasy to have about pleasure. But many of us are not sitting in mansions with champagne glasses, with fur coats, living in the best billionaire home. One day maybe, yes. But pleasure really and truly is the ability to turn the mundane into joyful experiences. And I want to talk about the ways in which we can do that. But before we talk about the ways in which we can do that, it's important to understand why it is relevant to understand why it's important. Why do I need to be a woman who gives room for pleasure? Why? What has that got to do with anything? As I've said, the reason why in the journey of your femininity, it is important that you make space and time for pleasure is because you want to be a woman who gives from an overflow. You don't want to be a woman who gives from a place of depletion, and from giving from a place of depletion, you then become a woman who's resentful of life. When you are a woman who prioritizes pleasure, what you are ultimately communicating to yourself and to those around you, and indeed to the energy that you are giving out, is that you are of worth. You are valuable. You are worthy of being given to. You are worthy of receiving your desires. You deserve good things. You deserve love. You deserve joy. You deserve happiness. I have gotten to this place in my journey as a female leader, as the founder of the Mega Woman community, where I want to shift the narrative that we have in womanhood. I want to shift the narrative that has been long discussed around how women suffer, how it is so hard, how there are so many challenges that women are in, how, women are unhappy, they go through so much stuff. Now, hear me correctly, this is not for me to say those things are not important to address. And indeed, I address them all the time on this platform, in my communities, in the retreats and the masterclasses that I do. So this is not to belittle the importance of having space where women can talk about their challenges, having space where women can receive support and love during those challenges. But I equally want us to get used to having conversations around it being normalized for us as women to live joyful lives, to live lives where it's turned on, to live orgasmic lives, literally, to wake up and every day just feels like this ongoing, beautiful, ecstatic expression within you. And so for me, part of what Feminine Flow Friday is, and welcome to all of you who are joining. So glad to see you all on the call. Do share this, do like it, do comment. That's how the algorithm does what it needs to do. So if you're on the session, if you're watching the replay, please remember to like, follow and share to as many people as you can. But welcome for those of you joining. I'm talking about being a woman of pleasure. I've talked about why this is an important conversation for us to have, because I want to move us away from the constant narrative around all the challenges that we have that weigh women down. And I want us to become a community where we normalize the importance of pleasure. We normalize the importance of happiness. We speak the narrative around the ways in which we can be women embodied in joy, in pleasure, in happiness, in peace, in love. And this is not to diminish those challenges that we go through. It is not to bypass it or to ignore it or not to address those challenges, but it's to offer us a more wider expansion as to what is possible for our lives. And so today's conversation, I really was very passionate about it because one, it's one of my favorite topics. I love to think about the various ways I can find pleasure in my day. I'm someone who, I haven't done it in a long time, but I've decided that this year I'm definitely going to go back to it. I'm someone who buys fresh flowers at home, not because of anything special happening, but because it invokes the spirit and energy of pleasure, of beautiful things around me. And so today's conversation is about what can we do to be women who cultivate the habit of being women who give themselves permission to enjoy things, who allow themselves time to do the things that lights them up and move away from the shackles that hold them down in terms of, things that they keep themselves back from doing. So as I'm talking, I'm remembering this scenario that happened a while ago. So many of you would know that I'm also the founder of the Mega Woman Planner. If you don't know, go follow the page at the Mega Woman Planner. You can also order yourself a copy because it's a dateless planner. But I packaged it the way I designed the planner, and I wish I had a copy here with me right now. I mean, I've got this. It's not really the full design, and this is not about today's session is not about the planner. I want to demonstrate something using the planner, but it's also a shameless plug to say, if you don't have a copy of the Mega Woman Planner, you can go onto the Mega Woman Planner page, find out more about it and get yourself a copy. But that's not where I'm going. The Mega Woman Planner, when I designed it, one of the key things that I wanted to design was to give the experience that anyone who has a copy of the planner really feels that they're receiving a gift to themselves. And I'll never forget that one lady ordered the planner. Actually, a few ladies have ordered the planner. And each time they've said, "Oh my God, Banker, it's too beautiful. I don't want to open it. It's just too lovely. I just feel like I can't open it." And I remember saying in one of the communities that I was speaking at the time, that's why I designed it. I designed this planner to remind you that you are worthy of good things. You are worthy of things that are delightful. You are worthy of things that are beautiful. And so, yes, it is designed to be beautiful so that when you open it from a place of self-appreciation. You open it from a place of self-worth and self-value. And as I listened to those women in various ways, it really struck me just how so many women don't know how to receive good things. We have been so wired to a space of self-sacrificing, a space of self-abandonment, a space of not putting ourselves first, that it literally feels strange to receive good things. But if you want to be a woman who is embodied in her femininity, pleasure has to be one of the key criteria in your life. You need to be able to have a rhythm and dance with pleasure. You need to be able to be willing to receive good things and know that it is okay. There is no guilt in it. There is no fear in it. There is no downplaying it. There is no running away from it. There is no resistance. It is a full, open-hearted openness to say, yes, I deserve this. And that is what my hope is with the Mega Woman community, that we become a movement of women who refuse to be tied to the shackles of the definitions of womanhood, the expectations of womanhood, and we free ourselves from that and give ourselves what we desire as well. This is not to abandon our responsibilities. This is not to abandon our roles as wives, as mothers, as daughters, as sisters, as aunties. But it is also for us to not abandon ourselves in that process. So when we talk about being a woman of pleasure, it means you are a woman who, one, has capacity to receive good things. It means that you are a woman who gives herself permission for her self-worth to be high. So it also means that you change your mindset around what good feels like for you. And oftentimes, again, I've done a couple of episodes now around the nervous system, and I won't go into details about that, but oftentimes it's because we have trapped emotions, trapped experiences in our bodies that literally causes us to contract when we receive pleasurable things. So practical things that you can do, and I've just got some notes here actually, practical things that you can do to help you to become a woman who is, who has a relationship with pleasure is, first of all, don't see pleasure as an indulgence. Don't see pleasure as an extra. Don't see pleasure as a form of reward. This is often, again, some of the things that we will do where in order for us to do the things that we really want, we must have worked hard for it. It's only at the end of the day that we're going to give ourselves that treat. It's only once we have finished washing the dishes, once we have finished cooking, once we have done this, then we'll now say, I can now treat myself. Pleasure is not indulgence. Pleasure is a sign that you are a woman who appreciates life. And because you appreciate life, you are going to enjoy all the aspects of life. So from a feminine perspective, pleasure is a prerequisite in order for you to live a high frequency life. So how do we become women who tap into our feminine and our pleasure points? So let's see. First of all, I've talked about the reconnection of the body. I've said that so many times. The last 2 episodes I've done on Feminine Flow Fridays have been all about reconnecting to the body. Your body needs to feel like it's safe to receive pleasure. Your body needs to be to feel safe that you can open, a gift. Just like those women who received the Mega Woman Planner, but they were so hesitant to even just untie the bow because their body didn't feel safe. And so in order for you to be a woman who embodies pleasure, your body needs to be able to feel like it is okay to be given good things. And there are a whole host of modalities that I've already spoken about, from breath work to dancing to moving to being in nature, and really just having that ongoing relationship with yourself to help you to reconnect to pleasure. Number 2, I've said it as well, redefining what pleasure is. Okay, so move away from thinking that pleasure is only about sexuality. Pleasure is one form of it, and it's a juicy, juicy, juicy form of pleasure. So we absolutely, don't want to ignore that side of our lives. But pleasure is more about sensuality. When I talk about sensuality, it is about activating our senses, our eyes, our nose, our taste, our touch, the things that we listen to, the environment that we find ourselves in. That is where your pleasure also comes from. You want to be a woman whose environment speaks the frequency of pleasure. And I have to be honest, full transparency. So I live in 2 places. I live in Lagos, Nigeria, and I live in the UK, London. And when I compare both homes, I love my Lagos home far than I do in my UK home. I've been in my UK home 24 years now going. So it's not that it's not a nice place, but when I compare the quality of the life that I live, my Lagos home gives me that. One, it is spacious, it is clean, it is modern. I've designed it in a way that really speaks and helps me to invoke pleasure. My UK home is under renovation. It's one of the things that I am working on because it doesn't speak to pleasure for me. It doesn't bring that sense of this is an environment where I feel abundant in. And so although I'm not able to change everything right now, I do have the opportunity to bring micro moments of pleasure in my day. So I dress well in my day. I spray my home with wonderful fragrance so that it feels high vibrational. As I said, I buy fresh flowers. So it's also about tending to your environment in a way that makes you feel like you are embodying pleasure. Okay? So number 3, I love this one. I wrote down here, honor your desires without shame. I love this one so much. Because I cannot tell you how many women I have spoken to that have dreams, they have passions, they have desires, they have hobbies, they have all the things that light them up, but yet none of them do them. They don't do the things that lights them up. And over the course of time, they end up living in a space of regret. You can always tell a woman who follows her desires, lives her best life, versus a woman who has shelved her desires. The woman who has put her desires on the back burner, she carries like a shrinked energy. If you imagine like a shrunken fruit, when you have an apple that has kind of been on the shelf for long and it starts to sort of get wrinkly, shriveled. That's the energy of a woman who consistently puts her desires to the back burner. To be a woman who embodies pleasure, you have to be a woman who honors her desires. It is not selfish to go after your heart's desires. It is not selfish to give yourself the things that you want. It is not selfish to have a dream. And I think there's nothing more sad than women who place their whole entire lives on hold in order to serve others. And I've been in that journey. I think I'm only just coming out of that journey. I had my first child as a teenager. So for the better part of my teenage years, my adult years, right up until this point, he's going to be 26 in March. And it's only now, my younger one's going to be 18 in July. It's only now that I feel like I can give myself some of the things that I want. And it's taken a long time to get there. But it doesn't matter how long it takes for us to get there. The key is once we have that awareness, give ourselves those permission to honor our desires. Don't stay in the place of, I wish one day maybe I wish I could, I wish I could. That is not the energy of pleasure. The energy of pleasure is, oh, this feels good to me. I want to pursue it. I want to live for my dreams. And you know what's so beautiful about when we become women who honor our desires? We are so high vibrational. There's literally a glow that comes out of us when we are doing the things that give us pleasure. And that makes us attractive. And I'm not talking about attractive in terms of attracting a man or relationships. I mean, it makes us attractive from the perspective that it inspires others to want to live their best lives. I literally just watched an Instagram post of a lady. She's in her, I don't know how old she is, but definitely elderly, but really well put together elderly, like really trendy, looking her best. And she just has posts every day. I don't know if it's every day, but all her posts is just of her dancing. She plays her favorite music. Most of it is old school music, and you know, she's just in her element. She's just dancing. She's just moving. She's just really enjoying the moment that she has created for herself. And when I watched that, I was like, I love the energy that she's putting out. It was so graceful. It was so free. It was so authentic. It was so honest. And that's what happens when we become women of pleasure. When we become women of pleasure, we literally become women who just exude joy, happiness. It's almost like a liquid gold that emits from us when we are in a place of pleasure. So I want to encourage you, ladies, especially as we're moving into the next, February, which is the month of love, and we're going to be bombarded with all sorts of Valentine. Those of us who are single, eye rolls. Those of you who are coupled up, eye rolls. But what if we could make February, yes, it's about love, and I'm not dissing that at all. What if we could make February the month where we really stop and think about, what does pleasure feel like for me? What is that one thing you can do that is going to bring pleasure to your life? Not for anybody else, but your life. If you're on the chat and there's a way in which you can communicate, just drop in the comments. What's one thing next month? And if you're watching the replay, also drop this in the comments. What is one thing that you're going to do to give yourself pleasure this month coming in February? How are you going to honor your desires? How are you going to prove to yourself that you are worthy of good things? And guess what, ladies? To live a life of pleasure, as I said, yes, I do always have this image of the woman drinking champagne in her glass, and, she's a billionaire's wife, and she's just whatever. But the truth of the matter is, pleasure doesn't need to be expensive. Pleasure doesn't cost you anything. Pleasure is a frequency. It's an energy. It's a mindset. It's an essence. It is permission to yourself to say, I am worthy. I'm worthy of my desires. I'm worthy to do things that make me happy. If it's going to lunch by yourself, go. If it's wearing a new lipstick, wear it. I love that Miss Jeb. She says, change my wardrobe and dress up daily, even on my day off. Yes. Ladies, guess what? For the large majority of the time, I work from home. So technically speaking, I actually can absolutely get away with a bonnet on my hair, wearing my boo-boo, or wearing tracksuits. No one will ever know. But whether I'm out or I'm not out, I am always on my very best form. For most days. If I'm having a rough day, maybe not. But I take pleasure in my appearance. I love to look good. It doesn't mean I make up everywhere as if I'm going to the Grammys, but I'm always well put together. I spray perfume on myself. I wear my clothes, my jewelry, my whatever, and I'm feeling good even if I'm not going anywhere. It's one of the things that my family members always laugh at me at, like, where are you going? You're also dressed up. But for me, those are the things that give me pleasure. For you, it might be having your hair bonnet on all day. I don't recommend that. But if that's where your joy is, go ahead. So this month, I want this month to be a month where you learn to really think about how you're going to embody the spirit of pleasure. The other thing about pleasure is, it invites softness into your life. So one of the things that I did on this journey very early on, when I wanted to just be a woman who kind of enjoyed pleasure more, I bought soft fabrics. I would often wear really flowing fabrics because it made me feel very feminine. It made me feel very, very pretty. So where can you also invite softness in your life? Pleasure, the feminine loves pleasure, because in the pleasure, that's where creativity comes. In the pleasure, that's where expansion comes. Pleasure and expansion and creativity means that you become a woman who overflows. Literally, you become a cup that is so full of goodness and joy and happiness that you begin to overflow it onto others. That's the good stuff that people want. People don't want our last drips and drabs of our juice, of our water, of what we have to offer, the scrapes of our time, the scrapes of our energy, because we're so exhausted. We've given our energy out to every single thing. We've gone and cooked jollof rice for the world. We've gone and changed 1,000,001 nappies. We've gone and done all of these things for our family members, and then we're now depleted. No, we want to be women who are well resourced. And to be a woman who's well resourced, you make time for pleasure. You make time for good things. You make time for the things that you enjoy, you like, you love. And that also means you learn to cultivate a habit, a ritual, a routine of pleasure. So for me, simple thing, when I wake up in the morning, one of the things I absolutely will go and do is, in my special cup, got this really nice golden cup. I make my pot of cacao. I pour it in. I make a ceremony out of my day, out of my morning. It's not just, I've woken up, brushed my teeth, and I've gone about my day. My morning is like a flower that blooms. Literally, when I wake up, I'm a flower that blooms. I'm like a lily that opens up. And so just the way in which I start my day is filled with pleasure. I start my day, I put my candles on, I drink my cacao, I have moments of reflection, moments of calm. Everything around me is peaceful, even if it's just that 5 minutes before my children wake up and there's drama everywhere. That 5 minutes, I have created my bubble of pleasure. And so this is not for this. There's no excuse for us to say, I'm too tired. The kids won't let me rest. I have so much to do. We have even 1 minute that we can give to ourselves to embody pleasure. So I will be continuing this series in the WhatsApp group over the weekend. So if you want to find out more about what does it mean to be a woman of pleasure and you are not in our WhatsApp group, I invite you to join us in the WhatsApp group. If you are in the WhatsApp group already and you're on this call, just give me a shout out. Just say, yo, the Mega Lounge is in the building. Let me know. And I will be continuing that journey. There are a few more points that I want to talk about in terms of being women of pleasure. But for today's episode, the key message is, it is not selfish. It is not selfish to want the things that you want. And we are in the year 2026, where for us in the Mega Woman community, we have declared it the year of freedom. Rooted freedom. And I put the word rooted there because freedom doesn't mean we're wild, we're free, we do whatever we want, we damn the consequences, we just whatever. No. Rooted freedom, which is our theme, means we are still grounded. We are still responsible. We still know what we need to be doing as women. We still show up in the way that we need to show up as women. But we do not self-abandon. We do not neglect ourselves. We no longer feature as the last item on the list. We place a priority on ourselves. We understand that when my cup is full, I am giving the best of myself to those that I love, to those that I'm committed to. I'm showing up with the full expression of myself than when I'm just giving and not replenishing. So rooted freedom for us at the Mega Woman community is the understanding that this year we're breaking free. Our narratives is no longer, oh, woe is me, oh, my life is this, oh, nothing's working, oh, he did this to me, oh, she did this to me. We're dumping the stories. And if we are going through challenges, we are doing the inner work to heal ourselves through it. We are stopping the blaming and we are doing the healing. If that means we're going to go and get coaching, if that means we're going to go to do therapy, if that means we're going to go and change our diet, if that means we're going to lose weight, whatever it is, we're going to take personal responsibility for our happiness in 2026. And part of that personal responsibility for our happiness is to also reaffirm the value that we hold, the worth that we have. And so we are going to give ourselves permission this year to have the things that we want. If there is something that you have truly desired and it is within your means to have those things that you desire, but you have just chosen to put yourself off from doing or having those things, commit that 2026 is the year that you go after what you want. So ladies, thank you so much for joining this week's episode of Feminine Flow Fridays. We talked about the importance of being women who embody pleasure, and I emphasized it as an ingredient to live in a feminine way. I will be sharing a lot more in the WhatsApp community. So for those of you that want to join, that girl Tammy, yes, thank you so much. You are welcome. And big shout out to Tammy. I was on her podcast yesterday. Was it yesterday or today? Yesterday. And Tammy, you're more than welcome to share what your podcast is as well in the chat. And we had a great conversation. So really looking forward to when that is published. And absolutely, if you want to join the WhatsApp group, please go to the link in my bio. It will take you to many other links that I have. And you will see very clearly that the WhatsApp group is called the Mega Woman Lounge. Click that link. It will take you straight to my WhatsApp page. I will have to approve you. And once I approve you, you will be welcomed into the glorious inner circle of the WhatsApp community. I am also running the Mega Woman Retreat for the third time. It's an annual retreat, our third annual retreat. The Mega Woman Retreat is happening. It's going to be taking place in South Africa. It's a luxury safari retreat. It's a 6-day retreat from the 10th of November all the way to the 15th of November. And it is going to be a magical time where we are literally going to embody freedom. It's themed the wild feminine. That is because this is the year where we are coming out of our shell. We are stepping into our full authenticity and we are living lives in the freest ways possible. If you are interested in joining that retreat, there is also details about that retreat on the link. I will be running another live session on the retreat in February. We already have 6 places that have gone. There are 2 places left. And so if it's something that you feel called to, I would absolutely love to welcome you on board. But for now, thank you so much, ladies. It has been so wonderful. What I would love for you to do, please, is once you get off this call, like it, share it, drop a comment in the comment section, because that's how Instagram does its algorithm. And if you want to join me in the WhatsApp group, just click the link in the bio and I will be glad to welcome you all. I will see you next week Friday for another episode of Feminine Flow Fridays, the space where we talk about femininity in all of its ramifications, particularly the deep spiritual essence of what it means to be an embodied feminine woman. Thank you so much for your time. See you next week.